My name is Alyssa De Gazon-Roberts and I am a professional counselor at Douglas & Associates Limited. I'm here today to share some helpful tips on how to implement the practice of self-compassion into your parenting style. As we continue to navigate the historic and sometimes very distressing occurrence of the COVID-19 pandemic, we can all benefit a bit from extending a little bit of compassion to others and, more importantly, ourselves. For those of us who are parents or caregivers, the practice of self-compassion can actually help us to enhance our parenting and how we relate to our children or other loved ones. Self-compassion is not about pitying or coddling or indulging the self. Actually, it's about the kindness and the warmth that we extend to others and, by extension, ourselves. Self-compassion centers on three primary elements. The first is being non-judgmental. The practice of self-compassion says that to be imperfect is to be human, and therefore it is not productive to belittle yourself for something that is inevitable. Number two, focusing on the human experience. During these times, it has been difficult for a lot of people trying to manage it all. Being focused on the human experience says that life's challenges are just a part of the human experience and not something that is happening to you specifically. Three, being mindful, which focuses on being open and receptive. This says that one must take a balanced approach to how we navigate our emotions. It isn't helpful to outright ignore your feelings, nor is it productive to over-identify with your emotions. It is about simply observing your feelings and knowing that they are just temporary. Now I'm going to share some helpful tips on how to implement the self-compassion practice into your daily lives. First, change your self-talk. Yes, we all talk to or address ourselves on a daily basis. So wouldn't it be more productive to talk to ourselves as we would a friend who has come to us for help? Yes, there is usually a place for tough love, but research actually shows that shaming and endless criticism is not a good motivator for anything. Instead, we need to focus on speaking to ourselves in a kinder, gentler way. 2. Show more empathy. Empathy refers to the practice of understanding another person's feelings. It's about seeing somebody else's perspective and walking around in their shoes a little bit. Sometimes, the practice of being self-compassionate is about just that. Observing your life experience as if looking at a stranger and trying to understand the emotion behind the behavior. 3. Take a self-compassion break. During this break, it's important to acknowledge that this is a difficult point in time for you and understand that it is just temporary. Also, you can take the time to ground yourself. That is, bringing yourself back to the present moment. You can do this by doing meditation, mindfulness practice, or taking deep cleansing breaths to get yourself out of the whirlpool of emotion. As a parent of a wonderful but very strong-willed toddler, I am very aware that parenting does not come with a manual. Rather, I choose to look at it as on-the-job training with a very steep learning curve. The practice of self-compassion can actually serve as the first and most crucial step in mindful parenting. First, when we are better able to recognize and regulate our own emotions, we are better equipped to teach our children to do the same. Children can be very empathetic individuals, and they pick up on our emotions. If as a caregiver or a parent, we have hectic or overwhelming emotions, what we often see is that it comes out in our young ones. For example, it may look like defiant behavior or a tantrum. This is usually because they are trying to make sense of what is happening to and around them, and it can be really difficult. Therefore, let's empower our children to become more emotionally intelligent and responsive individuals. Second, if we are paying attention to our emotions, we are better able to recognize when our energy reserves are running low. When we are hungry, tired, or just plain exhausted, we do not do our best parenting. Practicing self-compassion allows us to admit when we just need some support instead of doing it all ourselves. Third, the practice of self-compassion allows us to respond to the task of managing externalizing behaviors in our children. That is the tantrum or the outburst or the outright attitude. Just as we would like grace extended to ourselves, we should extend grace to our children. Acting out is usually an attempt to communicate an unmet need, albeit not in the most effective way. And that unmet need can be for rest, for a snack, or just for some attention. We should not see these tantrums or defiant behaviors as a personal attack on ourselves as a parent, a caregiver, or a person. In responding to these incidents, it is important to recognize the difference between discipline and punishment. Punishment is usually about the adult. It is about making the child as uncomfortable as possible in the hope that the behavior stops immediately. Discipline is about shaping the behavior of the child so that the undesired behavior reduces or does not recur in the future. Doing this requires a lot of energy and patience, which the practice of self-compassion can enhance. I hope some of these tips might be helpful to you and your family. Remember, it's called a self-compassion practice, which means that you may not do it perfectly the first time, and that's okay. It takes time to unlearn some of the unhelpful patterns that we would have picked up over time. Be patient with yourself and those who you love.